Thank you very much, Chairman. I want to thank you and Chairman Waxman for concurring with me in the need for our subcommittee to conduct an oversight hearing and investigation to get answers regarding the termination of auto dealer franchises all across our country. I want to recognize the dealers, including a constituent of Oregon's 2nd District, which I represent, Bob Thomas of Thomas Chevrolet Cadillac in Bend, Oregon. Bob and the rest of the dealers have taken time and expense to travel to Washington and provide us with their perspective on this issue. I also welcome Mr. Press of Chrysler and Mr. Henderson from General Motors. We're honored to have you here today as well. We have some hard questions for you, and I appreciate your willingness to come here today and explain your situation, your perspective, with clear and straight answers. Since American taxpayers now own 60% of General Motors, we have a right to know just how the decisions affecting our constituents are made. We also have a duty to make this process more accountable and transparent for all concerned. So let's start with a look at customer service. Mr. Henderson, you've spent a pretty large sum of money on newspaper ads recently. I'm sure you're familiar with your own ads, proclaiming your concern for greater transparency and customer service. Yet, you've dictated the closure of GM dealerships all across Oregon and the country. And I'll cite one in specific out in Burns, Oregon. Now, if you're a GM customer and the dealership in Burns, Oregon, Rule Teague Motor Company, is closed, your nearest GM dealer is Payette, Idaho, 136 miles away. Now, that's the equivalent of driving from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. to get service for your General Motors vehicle. Since we don't have the 3+ hours it would take to drive there, even in one of the new Camaros, we're using the fastest plane on our Air Force has, the F-15 Eagle, and Google Earth to demonstrate the route while I talk to that new brand of customer service. This will be in 3D for your enjoyment. It'll take a while. Just about a month ago, General Motors and Chrysler sent what were effectively termination notices to about 2,000 auto dealerships nationwide. We're told these notices serve to accelerate restructuring plans that are a must-do step for these troubled automakers. This is so Chrysler and GM can emerge successfully from bankruptcy with stable financial support. Many dealers in the communities they serve frankly feel blindsided. The mid-May notices came in the form of complex take-it-or-leave-it wind-down contracts with just weeks to make important and expensive life-changing decisions about their own livelihoods. Few explanations, no real opportunity to negotiate corrections or even sell to another more favored dealer, and no clear rationale for why they were chosen for closure. Thousands more received continuation contracts equally complex, which forced them into 18 months of limbo, giving up protections against abusive practices they would normally have been able to be protected against under state franchise law. But they had no choice. It was take it or leave it. Oh, and the agreements, by the way, required the dealers to say they weren't signing under duress. Really? So let's talk about transparency. We have yet to get a clear answer on how the so-called rationalization of dealer networks will save the automakers or taxpayers money. Rationalization seems like the 21st century version of we had to burn the village to save it. I want to hear this morning from GM about how cutting dealers really will save $2 billion. The National Auto Dealers Association argues the dealers cost the automakers little on the margin and provide necessary and convenient outlets for consumer sales and even the local connection the automakers so sorely need. Dealers, even small dealers, make sales and make the automakers money. By what we can gather to date, many dealers affected are not bad apple operations. Maybe they weren't meeting your mandated sales quotas, but it's hard to see them as cost drains on automaker operations. They often are the mainstays of the local communities they serve. They contribute substantial taxes, support local sports and community events, and they have good reputations. They're established, they're hardworking, and they're struggling in a horrible economic environment. And soon their employees will be out of work. By one estimate, the termination notices may cost upwards of 190,000 well-paying jobs. The validity of the cost issue is of particular interest since the press reported yesterday that the House Majority Leader said he had spoken to the White House's Auto Task Force and had acknowledged that the automakers will see no immediate cost savings from closing the dealerships. So, Mr. Henderson, you say GM's going to be more accountable. Let's talk about accountability. Who made the closure decisions? How were they made? When were they made? Who made the recent decisions to reverse closures of 41 dealerships? Mr. Henderson, you say GM will be more focused on customers. Let's talk about customers. How is it pro-customer to reduce competition by eliminating dealerships which compete with each other for price and quality and service? It's been said that our domestic automakers own rural America. You know how it is to serve rural America, to eliminate the lone dealership in a place like Burns, Oregon. We're still not to Idaho, by the way. We did just pass Stinking Water Pass. In this Alice in Wonderland world of rationalization where up is down and less is more, how are customers served by less competition and higher prices while on the taxpayer's dime better served? In Bend, Oregon, for example, the General Motors terminated the only GM dealership with substantial service repair facilities servicing tens of thousands of people in the 16,000 square mile radius. Do the planners behind this restructuring understand the rural America from whence I come? Do they really understand rural customers, the rural market, the loyalty? Let's talk plainly. If you just want to turn GM and Chrysler into a network of urban dealerships, then tell me, but don't ask me and my constituents to provide the bailout. Or is your plan to use the crisis of bankruptcy as a cheap and quick way to get rid of dealers you don't want, only to eventually sell or put in place, since you don't sell them, a new franchise in a market you've left? If you plan to reduce dealers, can you give me a guarantee that you won't simply get rid of a Bob Thomas, only to turn around and offer a GM franchise in Bend to someone else in the coming months? So the goal for me today in today's hearing, Mr. Chairman, is to get straight talk and facts. We need to know the real reasons for the closure decisions and whether they're really justified. We need to know how this is really a good deal for the taxpayer and the consumer. We need to know whether auto dealers targeted for closure in their local communities are getting that fair shake. We all recognize the very tough and painful times for the auto industry, especially its workers and suppliers. The reverberations of Detroit's troubles have already reached into every one of our districts. I look forward to the testimony. I look forward to working with you, Chairman, on further investigating this matter, and hope future hearings will focus on the role of the President's Auto Task Force as well.